The poor waitress was humiliated at the restaurant until the millionaire stood up and shouted, "Show some respect. She is my wife." Before we start the story, tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? And at the end, do not forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. Riley Monroe was absolutely sure the universe was personally invested in ruining her life. Not in a dramatic way, like a meteor falling from the sky or a dramatic medical diagnosis. No, the universe preferred the slow and humiliating method. A bank account with $12, rent 2 weeks late, and a job serving $8 coffees to tourists who complained that the phone was not good for photos. But today, Tuesday, April 16th, 2:32 in the afternoon, the universe decided to speed up the destruction process. "Riley, table 12, refill cappuccino, now." Barry's voice echoed from the kitchen like an emergency alarm. Riley adjusted the cafe's spotless black apron, the one that had to be clean and perfectly pressed, and tied her brown hair back into a perfect bun. The Heritage Brew uniform was elegant. White button-up shirt, black tailored pants, black apron with the gold embroidered logo, and black non-slip shoes, required for safety, but at least they looked nice. Charleston took its historical aesthetic seriously. And the Heritage Brew, right in the heart of King Street, was no exception. Riley picked up the steaming cappuccino, perfect foam, ideal temperature, a delicate heart drawn on top, and took a deep breath. "It's fine. You can do this. It's just a cappuccino. You have made this like 300 times today." The cafe was full. Tourists with huge cameras, older couples reading magazines, influencers posing near the historic brick walls, college students pretending to study, and, of course, table 12. That table. The woman sitting there looked like she had stepped out of a fine jewelry commercial. Flawless platinum blonde hair, oversized designer sunglasses even indoors, a pearl necklace that probably cost more than Riley's car, and a white silk dress that basically said, "Do not breathe near me." She had already complained 4 times. First time, the coffee was lukewarm. Second, the foam was not airy. Third, the cup had a microscopic fingerprint. Fourth, the spoon was not lined up correctly with the saucer. Barry had made Riley redo the order 3 times, and now here she was again, carrying the perfect, freshly made cappuccino. "Please, universe, just this once. Give me a break." Riley crossed the room carefully, balancing the tray with the precision of a circus acrobat. She stepped around the older gentleman's chair, past the influencer's table without touching anything. She was almost there. And that was when it happened. A teenager, cap turned backwards, headphones blasting, eyes glued to his phone, stood up without looking and stepped back, right into the tray. Everything turned into slow motion. The tray tilted. The cup began to slide. Riley tried to catch it. She really tried, but her reflex was disastrous. She reached out with both hands, tripped on her own foot, bumped her elbow on the tray's edge, and the coffee flew, literally, through the air, in a perfect arc, as if launched by a catapult, and landed right in the lap of the woman at table 12, on the white silk dress. No, please tell me this is not happening. Riley froze, the empty tray still in her hands, eyes wide, her mind completely blank while trying to process the disaster she had just created. The coffee stain spread across the white fabric like watercolor paint, dark brown, hot, irreversible. And then came the scream. "You threw coffee on me." Her voice exploded through the cafe like an ambulance siren. 40 pairs of eyes turned toward Riley at the same time. Phones were lifted. Someone whispered, "Are you recording?" "Great. Wonderful. Now I will become a meme. The clumsy waitress of Charleston, 3 million views by tomorrow. I am so sorry, Riley stepped forward trying to help, but the woman stood up so fast she almost knocked the chair over. "Sorry?" The woman looked at the dripping dress, then at Riley, and her eyes were furious. "This dress cost $4,000. $4,000. I have $12 in my account. 12. Riley felt her stomach sink to the floor. I can pay for it. I can pay in installments." Installments? The woman let out a laugh so loud and dramatic that even the European tourists stopped taking photos of the historic ceiling. "Do you think I need your money? Look at you. You are incompetent, a complete disaster." And it was in that exact moment that Riley felt it. That terrible thing rising in her throat, the urge to cry. To disappear, to never exist again, because the woman was right. Riley was clumsy. She always had been. She tripped on flat surfaces, dropped things, bumped into people, forgot orders, stuttered when she got nervous. And now she had ruined a $4,000 dress in front of half of Charleston recording with their phones. Please swallow me, floor. Open a giant crack and swallow me. Now. But the floor, as always, completely ignored the request. You should be fired. The woman pointed her finger directly at Riley's face. Right now. Right here, in front of everyone. Barry came running from the kitchen, his face red, his forehead sweating. Ma'am, please, I'm begging you. We will cover the costs. We cover? The woman turned to him. Do you think money fixes this? I want this girl out of here. Riley closed her eyes. That's it. It's over. I'm going to get fired. I'm going to lose my apartment. I'll have to go back to Colombia and live with the aunt who always said I would never be good for anything. She could already hear the comments on the viral video. How does she still have a job? What a mess. Poor thing, but there's a limit to foolishness. The phones kept recording. The woman kept yelling. Barry was having something close to a panic attack. And Riley just wanted to disappear. But then, something changed. The entire cafe went silent. Not that polite silence of let's stop recording because this is embarrassing. It was a heavy silence. Absolute. Like someone had turned off the sound of the world. Riley opened her eyes slowly. And she saw a man standing at the entrance of the cafe. Tall. Very tall. At least 6'3", broad shoulders under a charcoal gray suit that looked like it had been tailored directly onto his body. Dark hair perfectly brushed back. Strong jawline, straight posture. A presence that filled the room even without moving. And the eyes, dear God. Gray-blue eyes so intense they seemed to freeze everything around them. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, still, watching. But everyone in the cafe felt it. Riley had no idea who he was. She had never seen that man before in her life. But the reaction around her said everything. This man was someone important, very important. And then he started walking. Firm steps, decisive, determined. Straight toward Riley. Wait, why is he coming here? Did I do something to him too? He crossed the entire room, customers moving aside automatically, as if he were royalty, and stopped, right in front of her. Riley stopped breathing. He was even more intimidating up close. Far too tall, far too broad, and the scent something between expensive wood, Italian leather, and absolute power. And then he did something no one, absolutely no one, expected. He turned his head toward the woman with the stained dress, and said in a deep, controlled voice, but filled with such absolute authority it sounded strong enough to silence storms. Show respect, she is my wife. The entire cafe froze. Riley felt her brain hit a system error. Wait. What? Wife? Whose wife am I? The woman with the dress choked. Literally. Made a strange sound. The phones that had been recording Riley instantly swung toward the man in the suit. Barry dropped his pen on the floor. And then, as if the first bomb hadn't been enough, the man slightly turned his head, looked directly at the woman in the dress, and said with the same authoritative voice, My name is Adrian Reed, CEO of Reed Enterprises, and he made a subtle gesture toward Riley, is my wife. The cafe exploded into silence. Yes, silence exploded because everyone knew who Adrian Reed was. Everyone. Except Riley. She was still standing there, frozen, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, trying to process two impossible pieces of information at the same time. One, she was someone's wife. Two, that someone was apparently very important. The woman with the stained dress turned pale, like paper, like a ghost, like snow. Mr. Reed? I didn't know. I had no idea she was. Tourists around them began whispering frantically. Reed Enterprises, the company? He owns half of Charleston. She's his wife? Riley still didn't understand anything. Who is Reed? Who is this man? Why is he saying I'm his wife? I don't even know him. She opened her mouth to speak, to deny, to ask, to scream. Are you out of your mind? But no sound came out. Nothing. Her brain had shut down completely. Adrian Reed slightly turned his head toward her. His gray eyes locked onto hers for a second that felt like an eternity. And there was something there. Something that said, trust me. Or maybe, don't panic now. I'll explain later. Riley wanted to scream. She wanted to ask. She wanted to understand. But her brain was frozen. And strangely, some part of her, the part that had been publicly humiliated 3 minutes ago, understood that this man, whoever he was trying to help. So she stayed quiet, frozen, in complete shock. My wife, Adrian repeated, now looking at everyone in the cafe, each word heavy as stone, was working. Accidents happen. If anyone here has a problem with that, feel free to contact the legal department at Reed Enterprises. I'm sure my lawyers will enjoy the conversation. The threat was clear. Crystal clear. The woman in the dress opened and closed her mouth 3 times in a row. It wasn't. Great. Adrian placed his hand, large, warm, steady, on Riley's shoulder. She almost fainted. Let's go, dear. Dear? He called me dear? Who is this man? Why am I not screaming? Why are my legs moving? Riley's legs moved on autopilot. She had no control over anything. Her body just followed. He guided her carefully between the tables, between the shocked looks, between the phones recording everything, and led her to the back door of the cafe. The last thing Riley heard before the door closed was someone whispering far too loudly. Adrian Reed is married? Since when? And Riley thought, still completely frozen. Good question. Excellent question. I would like to know too. Can someone explain what is happening here? The cafe door closed behind them with a soft click that echoed like a gunshot in the tense silence. Riley blinked 3 times trying to process what had just happened, but before she could open her mouth, Adrian guided her quickly through the side alley to the parallel street. And that's when Riley saw it. The car. It wasn't a car. It was a work of art on wheels. Black, shiny, with lines so elegant it looked like it had been designed by someone who hated ordinary cars. The kind of vehicle Riley only saw in commercials during breaks of shows she couldn't even afford to watch. Of course he has a car like this. Of course. Adrian opened the passenger door with a smooth motion. Get in. Riley looked at him, then at the car, then back at him. You want me to get in your car? Unless you prefer to continue this conversation on the street where anyone with a phone can record us. Good point. Riley got into the car and immediately felt like she had stepped into another universe. The interior smelled like real leather and something expensive she couldn't identify. The seats were so soft they felt like clouds. There was even a digital panel that looked straight out of a science fiction movie. I don't even know where to put my hands. Adrian got in on the driver's side, closed the door, and suddenly the world outside became muffled, quiet, distant. It was just the two of them. In a closed space. In a car that probably cost more than Riley's entire student debt. She took a deep breath and exploded. Okay, what was that? Adrian adjusted the rearview mirror with an irritating calm, as if he had all the time in the world. I saved you from getting fired. Saved? Riley turned completely in her seat, facing him. You walked in there and yelled that I am your wife in front of everyone, with 40 phones recording. Exactly. Exactly. Riley threw her hands in the air. I got married and don't remember? Where's my imaginary certificate? Where's the dress? The honeymoon? The cake? Adrian watched her for 3 whole seconds, his expression completely blank. You didn't marry me. I know I didn't, Riley almost yelled, because I have never seen you in my life. Like, literally. 5 minutes ago, I didn't even know your full name. Exactly. Riley narrowed her eyes. Stop saying exactly like that makes any sense. Adrian sighed. That controlled sigh of someone who deals with difficult corporate meetings every day. Riley, that woman wasn't just going to fire you. She was going to post the video, tag the cafe, start a social media campaign to destroy you publicly. People like her enjoy that kind of power. Riley opened her mouth, but no sound came out, because deep down, she knew he was right. Fine, she finally said, her voice smaller. But that doesn't explain why you went in there and made up that I'm your wife. Adrian turned slightly toward her, and suddenly the space inside the car felt even smaller. Because I needed it to look like I was defending you. Riley blinked. You needed to? Yes. Adrian crossed his arms, and even sitting down, he looked intimidating. I have a huge corporate deal closing this week. Conservative investors. People who value public image, family, stability. Riley widened her eyes, finally understanding. You're saying that? I'm saying that when that video goes viral, and it will go viral, showing that I defended my wife from a cruel woman in public, the story is going to work completely in favor of my reputation. Riley stayed quiet, then exploded. You used my humiliation to build your image? Technically, I used your humiliation to save your image and mine. I'm going to scream. Please don't scream in the car. The acoustics are excellent. I'm gonna scream a lot. Adrian ran a hand over his face, the first sign that he was losing that perfect patience. Riley, listen, think with me. Option 1. You get fired, the video goes viral, you become a national meme, and lose everything. Option 2. You pretend to be my wife for a few weeks. I protect you, help you financially, and no one ends up destroyed. Riley opened her mouth, closed it, opened again. Are you being serious? Completely. You want me to pretend to be your wife? Yes. For weeks? Yes. And you're going to pay me? Adrian tilted his head like someone closing $1 million deal. I'll cover your debts, late rent, bills, whatever you need for the next few months. Riley felt the world spin. He's serious. This man just offered me money to pretend to be his wife. This is insane, she whispered. It's practical. I'd certified insanity. Riley. No, she threw her hands up. I can't lie. I get nervous. I talk to myself. I'll ruin everything. You only need to show up at a few events, smile, hold my hand, act natural. Natural? Riley let out a hysterical laugh. I spilled coffee on a customer. I am not natural. Adrian turned fully to her, those gray eyes locked on hers with startling intensity. Riley, you need help. I need a wife. Temporarily. This solves everything. Her voice broke. I don't deserve help from anyone. Adrian frowned. Why not? Because I'm a disaster. The words came out shaky. I always have been. I ruin everything. And now you want me to pretend to be the wife of a billionaire CEO? I'll ruin your life too. Silence. Then Adrian did something unexpected. He smiled. A small, genuine smile. Riley, if I thought you were going to ruin my life, I wouldn't have walked into that cafe. She blinked, confused. I watched you for 3 minutes, he continued, softer now. I saw how you treated customers, how you apologized before you even made a mistake, how you held the tray with care. A pause. You're not a disaster. You just had bad luck. Riley felt her eyes sting. Don't cry. Do not cry. So? Adrian held out his hand. Do you accept? Riley looked at his hand, at his face, at the absurdly luxurious interior of the car. This is insane. The late rent, viral video, a firing coming any minute. She took a deep breath and shook his hand. Fine, I accept, but only because I'm desperate. Adrian squeezed her hand, warm, steady, strangely comforting. Deal. Riley pulled away fast and crossed her arms. But I have conditions. What are they? First, you explain everything. Second, I can leave whenever I want. Third, she pointed at him. If I find out this is a scheme, I'll scream the truth in the street. Adrian smiled, amused. Fair. Riley took a deep breath. I just agreed to be a billionaire's fake wife. My life is a romantic comedy. Adrian started the car. The engine was so quiet she barely heard it. Oh, Riley? What? He looked at her, his eyes shining with that dangerous hint of amusement. My mother wants to meet you. Dinner at the mansion. Tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Riley froze. Your mother? But Adrian was already backing out of the parking spot. I don't even know your full last name, Riley shouted. Adrian gave a faint smile, eyes on the road. Reed. Adrian Michael Reed. Nice to meet you officially, wife. And Riley realized, with growing horror, that she had just made an agreement with a man she had known for literally 10 minutes. The car stopped in front of the old building where Riley lived. 3 floors, faded brick, rusty outdoor stairs, nothing like any place Adrian Reed had probably ever stepped inside. Riley looked out the window and felt embarrassment climb up her throat. Of course. He's going to see where I live. Adrian turned off the engine, that luxurious, expensive silence, and looked at her. Tomorrow at 6:30 I'll pick you up. Dinner starts at 7, but my mother values punctuality. Riley swallowed hard. 6:30, right? Punctual. Got it. She didn't got it. Adrian watched her for a second, those gray eyes studying her face like he was reading a contract. You're going to be fine. Easy for you to say, Riley muttered. You were probably born knowing which fork to use first. Adrian almost smiled. Actually, my grandmother gave me 3 slaps when I was 7 because I used the wrong spoon for the soup. Riley blinked. Really? Seriously? He opened her door from the outside with a button. Rich families have rules, a lot of rules, but you'll learn. Riley stepped out of the car, holding her old bag against her chest like a shield. What if I ruin everything? Adrian got out too, walked around and stopped in front of her. Tall, imposing, his suit perfect even after everything. Riley. He spoke with that steady voice that sounded like it could command entire boardrooms. You spilled coffee on a customer, got humiliated in public, and still agreed to a crazy deal with a stranger. You are braver than you think. Riley felt her chest tighten. Why does he keep saying things like that? Okay, she murmured. 6:30. I'll be ready. Adrian nodded, walked back to the car, and before getting in, looked at her one more time. Oh, and Riley? Yes? Wear something comfortable. My mother notices when someone is pretending. And with that, he got in the car and drove away, leaving Riley alone on the cracked sidewalk, watching the vehicle disappear around the corner. She stood there for a full 5 seconds, then whispered to the universe, "Something comfortable. Something comfortable. I don't have anything that works for a mansion dinner." She ran up the 3 flights of stairs, unlocked the apartment door, and walked in like she was escaping a crime. Locked it twice, leaned her back against the old wood and slid down to the floor. "I just agreed to have dinner with a billionaire's mother," she whispered to the empty apartment. "Tomorrow. Tomorrow." The apartment didn't answer, which was good, because if it did, Riley would have much bigger problems. She looked around the tiny space she called home. Second-hand couch with a torn cushion, coffee-stained coffee table, ironically, a kitchen so small only one person could stand in it, and a bedroom that was basically a glorified closet. This is where I live, and tomorrow I will have dinner in a mansion. Riley stood up, threw her bag on the couch, and went straight to the old laptop that took 3 years to turn on. "Come on, research. I need information." She typed frantically, "How to impress rich family formal dinner." The results popped up. 10 etiquette rules for elegant dinners. Complete guide. Which fork to use first? How to behave in high society settings. Riley clicked the first link and started reading out loud, as if she were studying for the final exam of her life. Rule number 1. Always wait for the host to start eating. She wrote it down furiously in an old notebook. Okay. Don't eat first. I can do that. Probably. She kept reading. Rule 2. Use the silverware from the outside in. She frowned. Outside in? How many pieces of silverware are there? She clicked another tab. An image appeared. A formal table with 8 pieces of silverware. 8? Riley yelled at the laptop. Who needs 8 pieces of silverware? It's dinner, not heart surgery. But she kept taking notes, determined. 2 hours later, Riley was standing in front of the small bathroom mirror, practicing. "Good evening, Mrs. Reed. It's a pleasure to meet you." She made an awkward bow. "No, wait, that's too formal. I'm not royalty." She tried again. "Hello, so nice to meet you." She reached toward the mirror with a huge smile. "No, too cheerful. Sounds like someone selling vacuum cleaners." She took a deep breath. "Good evening. Thank you for having me." Calm voice, straight posture, discreet smile. Better. She practiced 10 more times until the words came out without stumbling. Then she went to the bedroom and opened her closet. 3 pairs of jeans, 5 basic t-shirts, 2 casual dresses, 1 job interview blazer. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Suitable for a mansion dinner. Riley sat on the bed, staring at the empty closet, and felt something awful rise in her throat. I have nothing. Nothing good enough. She looked around the small apartment. Old furniture, peeling walls, a stain on the ceiling. This is who I am. Girl from a tiny apartment with overdue bills and thrift store clothes. And tomorrow I will pretend I belong in another world. She lay down on the bed, staring at the ceiling. I can't do this, but she had to. Because she agreed. Because she needed the money. Because strangely she didn't want to disappoint Adrian. Since when do I care what the CEO thinks? She turned to the side, trying to sleep. She didn't. She didn't. Next morning, Riley was on the couch in pajamas, old college t-shirt and sweat shorts, watching videos about formal dinner etiquette when the doorbell rang. 9 in the morning. Who rings a doorbell at 9 in the morning? She opened the door without checking the peephole. Fatal mistake. On the other side, 3 flawless women carrying huge suitcases, makeup boxes, and hangers with clothes. The one in front, blonde, perfect makeup, professional smile, reached out her hand. Riley Monroe? Yes? Excellent. I'm Natalie. This is Chloe. This is Simone. Mr. Reed hired us to get you ready for the dinner. Riley blinked 3 times. He? What? He hired us. Natalie walked in as if she owned the place. The others followed. Hair, makeup, clothes, posture, full package. Riley stayed by the door, mouth open, while the 3 of them entered the apartment. Wait, she closed the door. He sent you without telling me? He said you would refuse if he asked first, Chloe said, opening a giant suitcase. He knows me for one day and he already knows that? Natalie looked Riley up and down. Riley noticed. Old pajamas, messy hair, no bra. Great. Perfect. All right, Natalie clapped her hands. Let's start. Simone. Hair, Chloe. Makeup. I'll take care of the dress. Dress? Riley almost shouted. You brought a dress? Natalie smiled and pulled out a hanger. She removed the cover. Riley stopped breathing. Dark navy blue. Elegant, perfect cut. Flowing fabric, delicate details. The most beautiful dress she had ever seen. That must cost a fortune, Riley whispered. Don't worry, Mr. Reed took care of everything. Of course he did. Riley felt something strange in her chest. He did this for me? No, for him, for his image. So I would not show up looking like myself. Come on. Simone pulled her toward the chair. When was your last hair treatment? Riley hesitated. Define hair treatment? Simone and Chloe exchanged a look. It's going to be a long day, Simone murmured. 3 hours later, Riley was standing in front of the mirror, the same one where she practiced greetings, and she didn't recognize herself. Hair in shiny waves, light but sophisticated makeup, and the dress transformed her. She looked elegant, confident, like someone who belonged. But inside, she was still Riley Monroe, girl who spilled coffee, girl from the tiny apartment. Girl who would never be good enough. You look beautiful, Natalie said. Riley looked at the mirror and whispered only to herself, but I'm still me. And that felt like the biggest problem of all. At 6:28 in the evening, Riley was standing in front of the apartment window, looking at the street, her heart beating so hard she was sure the neighbors could hear it. Adrian's car turned the corner, black, shiny, impossible to ignore, and stopped in front of her old building. Riley took 3 deep breaths. You can do this. It's just a dinner. Just 4 hours pretending to be someone you are not. Simple. She went down the outside stairs carefully. The thin heel Natalie had chosen was beautiful but dangerous, and when she reached the sidewalk, Adrian was already out of the car. And he stopped. He literally froze, his gray eyes fixed on her, his expression different. Riley felt her face warm up. Is it too much? She asked, running a nervous hand over the dress. Natalie said it was appropriate, but I don't know if... You look beautiful. The words came out so direct, so honest, that Riley forgot how to breathe. Adrian cleared his throat, as if he had surprised himself, and opened the passenger door. Let's go. My mother does not forgive delays. Riley got into the car, that soft leather interior with an expensive smell, and tried to control her nerves. Adrian got in on the other side, started the quiet engine and began to drive. Silence. Tense silence. Riley couldn't take it. So your mother, is she kind of scary? Adrian looked at her briefly, almost smiling. She is observant. Observant like notices you use the wrong fork, or observant like hires a private investigator to check your life? Both. Great. Riley lifted her hands. Wonderful, I will be exposed before the appetizers. Adrian finally smiled, a small, real smile. Riley, breathe. You will be fine. Easy for you to say. You were born in this world. And you will adapt. He looked at her again, more serious now. Trust me. Riley wanted to trust him, but when the car turned into a tree-lined street and she saw the mansion, trust disappeared. The house was huge, Southern colonial style, 3 floors, giant white columns, perfect garden, a fountain at the entrance, and golden lights making everything look like a movie set. You live here? Riley whispered. I did. Now I have my own place. Adrian parked in front. But my parents still live here. Of course they do. Adrian got out, walked around, and opened her door. Riley stepped out, her legs shaking more than gelatin. You can do this. It's just a dinner. The front door opened before they even reached it, and a man in a suit, a butler? They have a butler, greeted them with a bow. Good evening, Mr. Reed. Good evening, James. Riley walked in, and almost tripped over her own foot when she saw the interior. Huge crystal chandelier, marble staircase, paintings that probably cost more than her entire building. I do not belong here. I do not belong here. Adrian! A woman's voice echoed through the hall, and Riley turned. A woman came down the staircase as if she were floating. Blonde hair and an elegant bun, a beige silk dress, a pearl necklace, perfect posture. Everything about her said, old Southern elegance. This was Adrian's mother, and she was looking directly at Riley. Mother. Adrian placed his hand on Riley's back, guiding her. This is Riley. Riley, my mother, Eleanor Reed. Riley reached out her hand, trying to remember the 10 things she had practiced in front of the mirror. "Good evening, Mrs. Reed. It's a pleasure to meet you." Eleanor looked at Riley's hand for 3 seconds before shaking it, gently, as if she were touching fragile porcelain. "Welcome, dear." The smile was polite, but the eyes were studying Riley as if she were a multiple-choice test. She knows this is fake. "Where is father?" Adrian asked, breaking the tension. "In the library, as always." Eleanor made an elegant gesture. "Come. Dinner is almost ready." The dining room was even more intimidating than the hall. A huge dark wood table, 8 chairs, silverware shining under the chandelier, crystal glasses, cloth napkins folded into swans. "Why are there 4 forks?" Riley sat where Adrian indicated, beside him, across from Eleanor. Adrian's father, William Reed, a tall, gray-haired man with a warm smile, walked in and greeted Riley with a firm handshake. "So you are the famous Riley," he laughed. "Adrian is finally introducing someone. I thought he was going to marry his work." Riley forced a laugh. If only he knew. Dinner began. Starter, pumpkin soup with cream. Riley looked at the silverware. "Which spoon? The big one? The small one? The middle one?" She glanced discreetly at Adrian. He picked up the spoon on the right. Riley picked up the same one. So far so good. But then came the bread. Eleanor took the bread, broke it gently with her hands, without a knife, and spread butter with a tiny spatula. Riley tried to imitate her. She picked up the bread, tried to break it. The bread flew out of her hand, went across the table, and landed on William's lap. Absolute silence. I'm sorry." Riley stood up. The bread, it slipped." William laughed, a warm, genuine laugh. "Rebel bread, it happens." He handed the bread back to her. "Try again, dear." Adrian hid a smile behind his napkin. Eleanor, however, did not smile. Main course, grilled salmon with vegetables. Riley ate in silence, trying not to make any unnecessary noise, and then Eleanor attacked. "So, Riley," her voice was soft, but sharp. "How did you two meet?" Riley almost choked on the salmon. Adrian, however, didn't miss a beat. "At the cafe where she works." "How charming," Eleanor smiled. "And when did you decide to get married?" Riley felt her blood freeze. "Married? We didn't get married. We only pretended." Adrian, calm as ever, placed his hand over Riley's under the table, warm, firm, reassuring. "It was sudden," he said, "but when you know, you know." Eleanor tilted her head. "Sudden, I see." Pause. "And your parents, Riley? Did they approve?" Riley froze. "My parents? My father died when I was 10. My mother is living with her new boyfriend in Arizona and barely speaks to me." "They support my decisions," Riley murmured, her voice smaller than she intended. Eleanor nodded, but Riley saw it. She saw the doubt. She saw the judgment. She saw the huge gap between their worlds. "I don't belong here." Dessert, lemon pie. Riley tried to make a toast with water, at the wrong time, and everyone looked at her as if she had committed a crime. When dinner finally ended, Riley felt like she had run a marathon. Adrian walked her to the car, his hand still on her back, and when they got in, he looked at her. "You did well." Riley let out a humorless laugh. "I threw bread at your father. He loved it. Your mother hates me." Adrian hesitated, then sighed. "She just needs time." Riley turned to him, her eyes watery. "Adrian, I don't belong in that world. I never will." He held her face, gentle but firm. "Riley, you belong where I say you belong." And before she could answer, his phone rang. Adrian looked at the screen, and his face went pale. "What is it?" Riley asked, her heart racing. Adrian showed her the screen. It was a news alert. CEO Adrian Reed and secret wife become internet sensation. Video hits 10 million views. Riley stopped breathing. 10 million? Adrian looked at her, his jaw tight. "We have a problem. 10 million views." Riley stared at Adrian's phone as if it were a life sentence. 10 million? She repeated, her voice coming out weak. "People watching that?" Adrian scrolled through the screen, showing her the headlines exploding in real time. Billionaire CEO reveals secret wife in dramatic defense. Who is Adrian Reed's mysterious wife? Viral video, romantic moment in a Charleston cafe. Riley felt her stomach twist. "I'm going to be sick." "Not inside the car," Adrian murmured, still reading. "The upholstery is Italian." "Adrian," he looked at her, finally putting the phone down. "I'm sorry. I didn't expect it to go viral this fast." "You didn't expect that?" Riley practically shouted. "You literally walked into a cafe full of tourists holding phones and declared that I am your wife. What did you think would happen?" Adrian opened his mouth, closed it, thought for 3 seconds. Touché. Riley leaned her head back against the seat, closing her eyes. My life is over. Officially. Over. Your life is not over. 10 million people, Adrian. I know. 10 million. Riley, I don't even have 10 friends in real life, and now 10 million people know me. Adrian held the steering wheel, taking a deep breath, and Riley realized, surprised, that he was stressed too. Look, he said, more serious now. This got out of control faster than I expected, but I will fix it. How? First, you cannot go back to your apartment. Riley opened her eyes. What? Adrian turned the car abruptly, so out of character that Riley grabbed the seat. Where are we going? She asked. To your apartment. You need to get some things. Why? Adrian looked at her, his expression serious. Because tomorrow morning your door will be surrounded by reporters, and you will not be there. Riley felt her heart race. So where will I go? Adrian hesitated, only for half a second. To my apartment. Silence. Complete silence. To your apartment? Riley repeated slowly. Like, where you live? Yes. You want me to live with you? Temporarily. Adrian. Riley. He glanced at her quickly before turning his eyes back to the road. They will hunt you down. They will camp at your door. They will follow you to work. You won't have peace. Riley felt panic rising. So I'm going to hide in your apartment? You will be safe until things calm down. And how long will that take? Adrian didn't answer immediately, which was answer enough. 15 minutes later, they were in Riley's tiny apartment. Adrian looked around, the old furniture, the peeling walls, the patched sofa, and said nothing. But Riley saw it. She saw the contrast, she saw the gap. I know it's not much, she murmured, grabbing an old backpack from the closet. That's not the point. It is. Riley started tossing clothes into the backpack without even folding them. You live in, I don't know, probably a luxury penthouse, and I live in an apartment that barely fits one person. Adrian stepped closer, picked up a shirt she had thrown and folded it perfectly. Riley, I'm not judging where you live. But your mother is. He stopped folding. My mother judges everyone, including me. Riley looked at him, surprised by the honesty. Take what you need, Adrian said, going back to helping. Clothes for a week, hygiene products, anything else you want. Riley nodded and kept packing, half on autopilot, half in total shock. 10 minutes later they were back in the car, her backpack in the back seat, and Adrian drove in silence toward Charleston's elegant downtown. When the car stopped in front of a huge building made of glass and steel, modern, imposing, with a doorman at the entrance, Riley swallowed hard. You live here? Penthouse, top floor. Of course it's a penthouse. They walked into the lobby, marble, minimalist chandeliers, reverent silence, and the doorman greeted Adrian with a discreet bow. Good evening, Mr. Reed. Good evening, Thomas. The elevator was mirrored. Riley avoided looking at her reflection. She was still wearing the dinner dress, but now wrinkled, tired, out of place. Adrian pressed the button for the top floor. The elevator went up, and up, and up. When the doors opened, Riley stepped out and stopped. Because the elevator opened directly into the apartment. There was no hallway, no door. The elevator was the entrance, and the apartment, my God. Floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of all Charleston. Minimalist and expensive furniture, open kitchen that looked like a magazine spread. Huge living room. Everything in shades of gray, black, and white. And silence. Absolute silence. You live here alone? Riley whispered, as if afraid her voice might break something. Yes. This is bigger than my entire building. Adrian almost smiled. Guest room is over there. He pointed toward a hallway. Private bathroom. Use whatever you need. Riley walked down the hallway, and when she opened the guest room door, she had to hold back a hysterical laugh. The room was bigger than her whole apartment. King-size bed, marble bathroom, empty closet waiting. This is a guest room? She murmured. Adrian appeared in the doorway, leaning on the frame. Something wrong? Wrong. No, it's all perfect. Riley threw her backpack on the bed. Except I live in an apartment the size of your closet, and now I'm sleeping in a palace. Adrian crossed his arms. Riley. No. She turned to him. You don't understand. Everyone who sees that video is saying I'm lucky, that I trapped you, that I'm using you. And are you? Adrian asked, his voice low. Riley froze. No, I mean, technically yes, but not the way they think. I didn't want this. I just needed. She stopped, her voice breaking. Adrian crossed the room in 3 steps. Riley, breathe. I can't. The words came out in a rush. 10 million people, Adrian, 10 million, and half think I'm taking advantage of you, and the other half think I'm lucky, and no one knows the truth. And what's the truth? Riley looked at him, into those gray eyes that seemed to see right through her. That I'm terrified, she whispered, that I lost control of my own life, and that I don't even know who I am in this story anymore. Adrian held her shoulders, firm but gentle. You're Riley Monroe, waitress, survivor, the woman who had the courage to accept a crazy deal with a stranger. He paused. And you're stronger than any of those 10 million people think. Riley felt her eyes burn. How do you always know what to say? I don't. Adrian let go of her shoulders and stepped back. I just know you're not what they say you are. Riley nodded, wiping her eyes quickly. Thank you for letting me stay here. You don't need to thank me. A comfortable silence settled. Then Adrian turned to leave. Oh, and Riley? Yes, there's fresh coffee tomorrow at 7. Don't let it get cold. He walked out, closing the door behind him. Riley stayed alone in the giant room, looking out the window at the glowing city below, and whispered to herself, I'm living with him. I'm living with the billionaire CEO. Then she grabbed her phone. A fatal mistake. Opened social media, new comments, thousands. And one in particular made her blood run cold. I bet it's all fake. Someone needs to investigate this. Riley locked her phone quickly, but it was too late. The seed of doubt was already planted, and she knew, deep down, she knew, it was only a matter of time before someone found out the truth. Riley's phone alarm went off at 6:45 in the morning. She woke up with a jolt, disoriented, confused, looking around the giant room before remembering where she was. Penthouse. Adrian. Coffee at 7. Can't be late on the first day. She jumped out of bed, ran to the bathroom, brushed her teeth at record speed, splashed water on her face, tried to tame her hair, failed miserably, and put on the first thing she found, sweatpants and an old college t-shirt. She left the room at 6:58. 2 minutes to spare. Perfect. She walked down the hallway toward the open kitchen and stopped. Adrian was there, in a suit, a full suit, at 7 in the morning. Reading something on his tablet, coffee cup in hand, posture straight even while sitting on the kitchen island stool. Who wears a full suit at 7 in the morning at home? He looked up when he sensed she was there, and paused. His gray eyes scanned Riley from head to toe. Messy hair, old sweatpants, bare feet. Good morning, he said, and Riley swears she saw the corner of his mouth lift slightly. Good morning, she said, still a little breathless from rushing. I got here on time. You did. Adrian stood and went to the coffee machine, an expensive, complicated machine that looked like it had more buttons than an airplane panel. Coffee? Please. He prepared a cup with movements so precise Riley suspected he did this every day at the exact same time, in the exact same way, and placed it in front of her. Riley picked up the cup, smelled it, took a sip, and almost moaned. My God, is this coffee or magic potion? Good? Adrian asked, going back to his seat. This is the best coffee I've ever had. Riley took another sip. And I work in a cafe. Literally. Adrian smiled. A small smile, but his eyes were shining with something that looked like amusement. Imported beans, fresh grind, exact temperature. Of course it is. Riley sat on the stool beside him, still holding the cup like it was treasure. Do you wake up every day at 6:30 in a full suit to make perfect coffee? 6:15. Riley blinked. You wake up at 6:15? Yes. By choice? Yes. Without anyone forcing you? Adrian looked at her, puzzled. Why would anyone force me? Riley let out an incredulous laugh. Adrian, you're a billionaire. You could wake up at noon if you wanted. I like routine. You like torture, apparently. He almost laughed. Instead, he took a sip of his own coffee, his eyes still shining with that quiet humor. Riley looked around the spotless kitchen, clean counters, nothing out of place, everything organized like a showroom. You cook? Adrian hesitated. Define cook. Like making food, with heat, ingredients. I know how to make an omelet. Riley widened her eyes, pretending dramatic shock. One omelet? Wow, practically a chef. Adrian looked at her from the side, and this time he definitely smiled. A real smile. Small but genuine, and with his eyes shining in a way that made Riley's stomach do a strange flip. Stop that. And you? Adrian asked, setting the cup down. Do you cook? Riley took another sip of coffee, wondering if she should be honest or not. Actually, yes. A lot. Adrian raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. Really? Really? Riley shrugged. My grandmother raised me after my father, well, and she was the type who believed everyone needed to know how to cook. She said food was love in solid form. Adrian watched her more closely now, not with judgment, but with genuine curiosity. And what do you know how to make? Riley felt her face warm a little but kept going. Pretty much everything. Pasta from scratch, bread, pies, roasts. My grandmother was truly Southern, like fried chicken, homemade mac and cheese, peach pie. She stopped, realizing she was talking too much. Anyway, I cooked more than one omelet. Adrian stayed quiet for 3 seconds. Then his eyes lit up, not with amusement, but with something deeper. Real interest. You know how to make bread? From scratch. Natural fermentation, kneaded dough. Everything. Pie? 7 different kinds. Fried chicken? Riley smiled, finally relaxing. The best you'll ever taste in your life. Adrian looked at her as if he were seeing her for the first time. Really seeing her. Why do you work in a cafe serving other people's food when you could be cooking yourself? The question caught Riley off guard. She looked at the cup of coffee, her voice coming out softer. Because opening a restaurant costs money, and I can barely pay rent. Pause. And because, I don't know, I always thought it was just a hobby, nothing serious. Talent is never just a hobby. Riley looked at him, and there was something in Adrian's expression she couldn't quite read. Respect, maybe, or admiration. Well, she said, trying to break the moment before it got too intense, when you get tired of your gourmet omelet, let me know. I'll make a real Southern breakfast. Adrian smiled, and this time it was a full smile, with his eyes shining so much Riley had to look away. Could it be tomorrow? Riley blinked. Really? Really? You want me to cook? Here? In your showroom kitchen? Why not? Because I'm going to make a mess. I accept the risk. Riley laughed, a genuine, surprised laugh. Okay, tomorrow, but you'll have to buy real ingredients. Adrian picked up his phone, send the list. And while Riley typed the ingredients, she realized something strange. For the first time since she had entered that penthouse, she felt at home. The doorbell rang at 8 o'clock. Adrian pressed the intercom, and the elevator doors opened. 3 elegant women walked in with racks of clothes, boxes, suitcases. Good morning, Riley. Natalie smiled. Ready for the big day? Riley looked at Adrian, confused. What big day? Charity event. Tonight. 7 o'clock. Adrian answered calmly. Tonight? Yes. You didn't tell me. Technically, I just did. Before Riley could yell, Natalie pulled her by the arm. Come on, dear. We have a lot to do. Riley was dragged to the guest room. The team kept coming in with clothes and more clothes, shoes and more shoes, and now there was a full closet. Completely full. Dresses organized by color, shoes lined up on lit shelves, drawers with jewelry, hanging bags. Riley stopped at the doorway, mouth open. This is all here? Natalie smiled proudly. Mr. Reed gave us full permission. We built a complete wardrobe. How many pieces? 15 dresses, 20 pairs of shoes, accessories, coats. 20 pairs. Adrian appeared at the door, leaning on the frame. You were going to need them. Riley turned to him, stunned. Adrian, I have 3 pairs of shoes in real life. Now you have 23. Riley opened her mouth, but Natalie interrupted. Focus. Let's begin. 3 hours later, Riley was standing in front of the full-length mirror. Red dress. Long. Elegant. Hair in soft waves. Perfect makeup. Adrian walked in and stopped completely. His eyes traced every detail. You look beautiful, he said, his voice lower than usual. Riley felt her face warm. Thank you. At 7 in the evening, the car stopped in front of the Grand Hall, a historic Charleston building, all lit up with a red carpet at the entrance. Riley saw the photographers. A lot of photographers. Adrian, there are a lot of people. I know. Will they take photos? Yes. Of me? Of us. Riley took a deep breath. Smile and wave. Just smile and wave. Adrian got out of the car, walked around, opened her door, and held out his hand. Riley took it, and the flashes exploded. She tried to smile, but she probably looked more like someone having a small seizure. Adrian placed his hand firmly on her back and guided her inside. The ballroom was huge. Crystal chandeliers, tables decorated with expensive flowers, people in tuxedos and evening gowns, and all of them looking. All of them. Adrian greeted a group of men. Investors, judging by the expensive suits and serious posture. Gentlemen, this is my wife, Riley. Riley shook hands, smiled, murmured, nice to meet you. And then she heard it. A woman's voice, not far away. She doesn't look like his type, does she? Riley froze. Another woman answered, he could have anyone, and he chooses, well, this. Riley felt like she had been punched. Adrian turned, slowly but with cold eyes. He excused himself from the investors and walked straight to the two women. Sorry to interrupt, he said, his voice polite but sharp, but I heard your comments about my wife. The women went pale. Mr. Reed, your opinion was not asked for, and it is not relevant. Awkward silence. Adrian held out his hand to Riley. Let's go, dear. He led her to the outside terrace. The fresh air felt good. Riley leaned against the railing. You didn't have to do that. I did. Adrian stepped closer. Too close. Do you think I care about what they think? He gently held her face. You are here because I wanted you here. The distance between them shrank. 5 centimeters. 3. 1. Adrian. An investor appeared. We need to talk about the contract. It's urgent. Adrian closed his eyes, clear frustration. He looked at Riley. I'll be right back. He left. Riley stayed alone, her heart still racing. Her phone vibrated. Message from an unknown number. I know you two are not married, and I have proof. Riley felt her blood turn cold. Her hands shook. Someone knows. Someone knows. She took 3 deep breaths, trying not to panic, in the middle of a terrace full of important people. Calm down. It could be a bluff. It could be someone trying to create trouble. But what if it wasn't? Riley quickly put her phone away when she heard steps behind her. Adrian returned, his expression tense, clearly irritated by the interruption. Sorry, persistent investor. He stopped beside her at the railing, looking at the lit-up city. Are you all right? Riley forced a smile. Yes, I just needed some air. Adrian watched her for 2 seconds, those gray eyes that seemed to read everything, but he didn't push. Do you want to leave? Yes, desperately. No. Riley lied. You need to stay. Corporate deal, remember? Adrian smiled slightly. You learned fast. Before Riley could answer, the terrace door opened again, and a woman walked in. No, not a woman. An apparition. Tall. She must have been around 5'10" without heels. Platinum blonde hair perfectly straight down her shoulders. A navy blue dress that looked like it had been sewn directly onto her body. Perfect skin. The posture of someone who had walked on runways her whole life. And she looked straight at Adrian, with a smile that made Riley's stomach drop. Adrian, her voice was soft, polite, but full of familiarity. Adrian turned, and Riley saw it. She saw his expression change, not to happiness, but to discomfort. Charlotte. Charlotte. This is the X. Of course it is. Charlotte crossed the terrace as if she were in slow motion, every step calculated, every movement smooth. And she stopped right in front of Adrian, ignoring Riley completely. How long has it been? 6 months? 7, Adrian corrected, his voice neutral. 7. Charlotte smiled, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It feels like forever. Riley stood there on the side, invisible, watching the interaction like a scene from a movie she didn't want to see. She is perfect, like perfect. She looks like a model. I look like the waitress who spills coffee. Oh, right. Charlotte finally looked at Riley, from head to toe, with that look that analyzed, judged, and dismissed in 3 seconds. And you must be. Adrian stepped forward, placing himself slightly in front of Riley. My wife, Riley. Charlotte's smile became interesting, as if she had heard an inside joke. Oh yes, the secret wife. She held out her hand, long, delicate, perfect nails. Charlotte Whitmore, nice to meet you. Riley shook her hand, and it felt like touching cold porcelain. Nice to meet you, Riley murmured. Charlotte released her hand and turned all her attention back to Adrian, as if Riley no longer existed. I saw the video, of course. Everyone did. She gave a soft laugh. Very dramatic. Doesn't seem like your style, Adrian. Things changed, Adrian said, his voice firm. Clearly. Charlotte tilted her head, studying him. You look different. I am different. Huh. Charlotte crossed her arms delicately. Funny, when we were together, you always said marriage was impractical and unnecessary, your words, not mine. Riley felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. He said that? He thought marriage was unnecessary? And now he was pretending to be married to her? Adrian didn't answer right away, and the silence was loud. Charlotte smiled again, that dangerous smile. But anyway, people change, right? She glanced quickly at Riley, then back at Adrian. Or, they look like they changed. The meaning was clear. She knows, or at least suspects. Riley felt panic rising, but before she could say anything, Charlotte touched Adrian's arm. Lightly, casually, but with a familiarity that made it obvious she knew him. Intimately. "We need to talk about the Harrington project. We still have unfinished business." Adrian pulled his arm back, subtle, but deliberate. "We don't have unfinished business. The project is closed." Charlotte raised one perfectly shaped eyebrow. "Because my lawyer disagrees." "Then your lawyer is wrong." Tension. A lot of tension. Charlotte looked at Riley again, and this time the look was calculated. "Riley, dear, do you mind if I borrow your husband for 5 minutes? Just boring business. I promise I'll return him in one piece." The way she said husband, with that tiny, intentional emphasis, made Riley want to disappear. No, of course not," Riley murmured, trying to sound confident and failing miserably. Adrian looked at her, serious. "Riley, it's fine." Riley forced a smile. "Go, I'll wait here." Adrian hesitated, clearly not wanting to leave her alone, but Charlotte was already gently pulling him toward the door. "It won't take long," Charlotte said over her shoulder, smiling at Riley. And then they left, leaving Riley alone on the terrace, again. Riley leaned on the railing, looking at the city, trying not to cry. She is everything I'm not, perfect, elegant, from the same world as him. She probably knows which fork to use without having to Google it. She probably never threw bread at anyone. And worse, was the way Adrian had looked uncomfortable, as if seeing Charlotte again had stirred something in him. He still likes her. He has to like her. No one reacts like that to an ex unless there are feelings left. Riley grabbed her phone again, reread the threatening message. "I know you two are married, and I have proof." And then a second message arrived, from the same unknown number. Riley opened it, her heart racing. "Do you think he would choose you if he didn't need you to keep up appearances? He still loves Charlotte. Everyone knows." Riley felt like she had taken a punch to the stomach. Her hands were shaking so much she almost dropped the phone. Who was sending this? Charlotte? Someone who knows her? She looked at the terrace door, still closed, Adrian still inside talking to his perfect ex. And for the first time since everything began, Riley felt something worse than fear. She felt like she didn't belong. Not in that world, not in that life, and definitely not beside Adrian Reed. 10 minutes later, which felt like an eternity, Adrian came back, alone. His expression was tight, tense, as if talking to Charlotte had been difficult. He stopped in front of Riley. "Sorry, she is persistent." Riley forced a smile. "It's fine. Did you take care of what you needed?" "Yes." Adrian studied her. "Are you okay? You look tired," Riley said quickly. "Just tired. It was a long day." Adrian nodded, but his eyes said he didn't fully believe it. "Do you want to go home?" "Yes," desperately. "If you're done here, I'm done." They went back into the ballroom, and Riley saw Charlotte on the other side of the room, talking to a group of equally perfect women. Charlotte looked in their direction and smiled. A smile that said, "I know what you are, and soon everyone else will too." In the car, on the way back to the penthouse, the silence was heavy. Adrian drove tensely, clearly lost in thought. Riley stared out the window, trying not to cry. "Riley?" She turned to him. "About Charlotte." "You don't need to explain," Riley cut in quickly. "She's your ex, I understand." "No." Adrian stopped at a red light and looked at her. "You don't understand. Charlotte and I ended because she wanted something I couldn't give. And I was too cold about it." Riley stayed quiet. "She's not a bad person," Adrian continued, "but she also doesn't take no for an answer." "Do you still like her?" The question slipped out before Riley could stop it. Adrian looked at her, straight into her eyes. "No." "Are you sure?" "Completely." Riley wanted to believe him, but her phone vibrated again. Another message. "He's lying, and you know it." Riley looked at the screen, then at Adrian, who had gone back to driving, unaware of the messages. And for the first time she wondered, what if the person sending those messages was right? When they arrived at the apartment, Riley only said good night and went to the guest room. At 6 in the morning, Riley woke up with a mission. She wasn't going to stay in bed replaying the anonymous messages in her head. She wasn't going to think about Charlotte and her perfect dress and her calculated smile. No, she was going to do what she always did when she needed to process feelings: cook. She left the room still in pajamas, sweatshorts and an old t-shirt, and went straight to Adrian's spotless kitchen. She opened the giant fridge. Empty. "Well?" Not completely empty. There was imported mineral water, organic Greek yogurt, a few perfectly organized fruits. Of course, he probably never cooks here. But then she remembered. Adrian had ordered the ingredients she requested. She opened the pantry and smiled. Everything was there. Flour, sugar, butter, eggs, bacon, cheddar cheese, whole milk. He really bought it. Riley rolled up her sleeves metaphorically since she was wearing a t-shirt and started. An hour later, the kitchen was a controlled disaster. Pots on the stove, bowls on the counter, flour on the countertop, and possibly on the floor too. Smell of crispy bacon, biscuits baking, fresh coffee. Riley was in the middle of everything, stirring eggs in a skillet, humming an old song softly. And that's when she heard it. What happened in here? Riley turned with a jump. Adrian was standing at the entrance to the kitchen, in a full suit, tie adjusted, hair perfectly in place, looking around with an expression that mixed shock and amusement. "Good morning," Riley said, trying to sound casual as she hid the dirty spoon behind her back. I'm making breakfast, like I promised." Adrian walked slowly toward the kitchen island, his eyes moving over the pots, the plates, the organized mess. "There's flour on the ceiling." Riley looked up. There was. "Oh, yes, mix the batter too fast?" Adrian almost smiled. "You destroyed my kitchen." "I made breakfast." Riley defended herself, gesturing with the spoon, splattering egg in the process. "Real Southern breakfast. Not, I don't know, boring organic yogurt." Adrian finally smiled. That small but genuine smile that made his eyes shine. "May I taste it?" Riley gestured dramatically toward the table she had prepared. "Please, sit." Adrian sat, and Riley began bringing the dishes. Warm biscuits with melting butter, creamy scrambled eggs with cheese, crispy bacon, stacked pancakes, strawberry jam. Adrian looked at the full table as if he had never seen food before. "You made all this?" "Yes. In 1 hour?" "Pure talent," Riley joked, sitting beside him. Adrian picked up a biscuit, split it open, steam rising, spread butter, took a bite, and closed his eyes. Closed them. Riley held her breath. "Please be good. Please be good." "This." Adrian opened his eyes, looking at her with an expression Riley couldn't decipher. "This is the best thing I've ever eaten in my life." Riley felt her chest warm. "Really?" "Really." He took another piece. "You could open a restaurant." Riley gave a humorless laugh. "With what money?" Adrian stopped chewing, looking at her. "Have you ever thought about that? Seriously?" Riley shrugged, poking her pancake. "It was always a dream. Like one of those impossible ones. A small place, homemade food, nothing fancy, just honest." She gave a sad smile. "But dreams don't pay bills." Adrian stayed silent for 3 seconds, then said quietly, "No one has ever cooked for me like this before." Riley blinked. "Never?" "Never ever. Never." He looked at the full table. "My mother always had cooks. Charlotte thought cooking was too domestic." He made quotes with his fingers. "And I never knew I was missing something until now." Riley felt something tighten in her chest. "Well," she said, trying to keep her tone light, "now you know, and you'll have to put up with Southern breakfast every day." Adrian smiled, and this time it was a full smile. "I accept." They ate in comfortable silence. Adrian tasted everything and praised everything. Riley watched him eat, and something strange happened in her chest. It wasn't just attraction, it wasn't just gratitude. It was something bigger, more frightening. I could get used to this, to him, to this life. And that thought was dangerous, because none of this was real. Or was it? When they finished, Adrian looked at the clock. "I need to go. Meeting at 8. "Go." Riley started gathering the plates. "I'll clean all this." Adrian stood up, adjusting his tie, grabbing his briefcase, but he stopped at the kitchen doorway. Turned, looked at Riley, still in pajamas, messy hair, smelling like food, a soft smile on her face, and then he walked back. 3 steady steps, stopped in front of her. Riley froze, the plate still in her hand. "Adrian?" He took her plate, set it on the counter, held her face with both hands, gentle but firm, and kissed her. Not on the forehead, not on the cheek, on her lips. A soft kiss, slow, filled with something Riley couldn't name but could feel in every inch of her body. The world stopped. The noise of the city outside disappeared. There was only him and her, and that kiss that felt like it was rewriting everything. When he pulled back just a few inches, his gray eyes were locked on hers. "I needed to do that," he whispered, his voice rough. Riley couldn't answer. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. Adrian brushed his thumb gently along her cheek, a tender gesture that made Riley's eyes burn. Thank you for breakfast, for being here. And then he walked out. Just walked out, leaving Riley alone in the messy kitchen, her heart pounding so hard she was sure the neighbors downstairs could hear it. She stood there for a full 5 minutes, then touched her own lips, still warm from his. He kissed me. Adrian Reed kissed me. For real, not for cameras, not to keep up appearances, just because he wanted to. She looked around the kitchen, the mess, the dirty dishes, the flour on the ceiling, and smiled. A real smile, silly, happy. Maybe this isn't just an arrangement. Maybe it's real. Riley grabbed her phone to text him, something light, funny, to break the tension, but stopped. No. Let him process it too. Let this moment be ours. She put the phone away and went back to washing dishes, humming under her breath. And for the first time since everything began, since the spilled coffee, since the viral videos, since the elaborate lie, Riley Monroe felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt happy, pure, simple, real. And even knowing anonymous messages still existed, that Charlotte was still out there, that the truth would eventually come out. In that moment, in that messy kitchen, with his taste still on her lips, Riley decided she was going to fight. Fight for him, for them. Because some things, some people were worth the risk. 5 days. 5 days since the kiss in the kitchen. And everything had changed. Not on the outside, they still lived together in the penthouse, still kept up the act in public, still showed up at events as the perfect couple. But inside everything was different. Adrian came home earlier from work. Riley cooked every day, and he ate everything, praised everything, helped wash dishes, clumsily, but he helped. They had dinner together at the kitchen island, talking about everything and nothing. Childhood, favorite songs, bad movies, silly fears. Riley found out Adrian was afraid of heights, ironic for someone living in a penthouse. Adrian found out Riley sang in the shower, loud, off-key, and without shame. And every night after dinner, he walked her to her bedroom door and kissed her. Every single day. Soft kisses, slow kisses, kisses that left Riley breathless and made Adrian hesitate before stepping back. It was sweet torture, and Riley was completely in love. On the 5th night, Thursday specifically, Riley was finishing the lasagna when Adrian arrived, earlier than usual. She turned around, wooden spoon in hand, and smiled. "You keep getting home earlier. Soon you'll be here for lunch too." Adrian loosened his tie, tossed his jacket onto the sofa, something he never did, and walked straight to her. He held her face and kissed her, with more urgency this time, like he'd been waiting all day for it. When he pulled back, Riley was breathless. "Hi," she whispered, dazed. "Hi." He smiled, that rare smile that made his eyes light up. "I thought about you all day." Riley felt her face warm. "You did?" "I did." He brushed his thumb across her cheek. "And I need to invite you to something." Riley narrowed her eyes. "That sounds dangerous." "Dinner, at the mansion, tomorrow night." Riley froze. "With your parents?" "Yes." "Again?" "Again." Adrian sighed. "My mother insisted. She wants to get to know you better." He even made air quotes. Riley dropped the spoon on the counter. "Adrian, last time I threw bread at your father. He loved it. Your mother didn't love it." Adrian held her hands, steady, comforting. "Riley, I'll be with you the whole time. And this time, it's different." "Why?" He looked into her eyes, serious, vulnerable. "Because this time I'm not pretending." Riley's heart skipped a beat. "You aren't?" "No." He squeezed her hands, and I think my mother noticed. The next day at 6 in the evening, Riley stood in front of the crowded closet trying to pick a dress. Something elegant but not over the top. Something that says I belong here without looking like I'm trying too hard. She grabbed 3 different dresses, tried them all on, and hated every single one. "Riley?" Adrian's voice came from the hallway. "Are you ready?" "No." He appeared at the door, wearing a perfect navy suit, and stopped when he saw her surrounded by clothes. "What happened here?" "I don't know what to wear." Adrian walked into the room, looked at the dresses thrown on the bed, picked up a dark green one. "This one." Riley took the dress, looked at it, then looked back at Adrian. "Really? Really, it suits you?" Riley put it on and he was right. The dress was perfect. She turned to him. "And now?" Adrian crossed the room, adjusted a strand of hair that had fallen across her face, and smiled. "Now you breathe. And remember, my mother already knows you, and my father loves you, and He hesitated. "I'll be with you." Riley nodded, trying to believe it. The Reed mansion was exactly as Riley remembered. Impressive, elegant, intimidating. But this time, when they walked in, William Reed came running from the office. "Riley!" He opened his arms. "What a joy to see you again." Riley hugged him, surprised by the genuine warmth. "Hi, Mr. Reed." "William, call me William." He stepped back, smiling. "Eleanor's in the living room. Come, come." Adrian held Riley's hand, a small but meaningful gesture, as they walked. Eleanor Reed was sitting on the living room sofa, elegant as always, but when she saw Riley, she smiled. A small smile, but a smile. "Riley, I'm glad you came. Thank you for having me, Mrs. Reed." "Eleanor," she corrected, motioning for Riley to sit. "We can be less formal now." Riley sat, and Adrian sat beside her, his hand still holding hers. Eleanor noticed, and her expression changed. It became curious. Dinner was surprisingly peaceful. William told funny stories from Adrian's childhood, which visibly embarrassed him. Riley relaxed, laughed, even shared a few of her own. And Eleanor watched everything. After dessert, Eleanor stood up. "Riley, dear, come with me for a moment. I want to show you something." Adrian looked at his mother, tense. "Mom, relax, son." Eleanor smiled. "Just a woman-to-woman talk." Riley looked at Adrian. He gave a small nod, and she followed Eleanor. They walked to the backyard garden. Softly lit, scented flowers, calm silence. Eleanor stopped near the fountain and turned to Riley. "You're good for him." Riley blinked, surprised. "What?" "Adrian." Eleanor crossed her arms gently. "I've known him for 32 years, and I have never seen him look at someone the way he looks at you." Riley felt her throat tighten. I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything." Eleanor stepped closer. "You just need to know that I was wrong. At the first dinner, I judged you, and I'm sorry." Riley's eyes widened. "Eleanor Reed just apologized?" "You make my son smile," Eleanor continued, her voice softer now. "You make him feel. And that is rare, precious." Riley felt her eyes sting. "He makes me feel too," she admitted quietly. "Things I thought I'd never feel." Eleanor smiled, a truly genuine smile this time. "Then take care of him, and let him take care of you." They walked back inside, and when Riley saw Adrian waiting at the doorway, she saw relief on his face. In the car, heading back to the penthouse, Adrian held her hand. "What did my mother say?" Riley smiled. "That I'm good for you." Adrian stopped at the red light and turned to her. "She's right." Riley felt her heart race. "Adrian?" He leaned in and kissed her right there in the stopped car under the traffic light. And Riley knew. She knew there was no turning back. She was completely, hopelessly in love with Adrian Reed. They reached the penthouse at 10 that night. Adrian walked her to the bedroom, as always. But this time, when he started to step back after the goodnight kiss, Riley held his hand. "Stay." He stopped, his eyes intense. "Riley, just stay, please." Adrian hesitated, an inner battle clear on his face. Then he walked into the room, closed the door. And for the first time since everything began, they slept together. Just sleeping. Holding each other. Safe, and it was perfect. Adrian woke up at 3 in the morning. He didn't know why. He only knew something had pulled him from sleep. Riley was holding him, calm breathing, completely relaxed. He was about to close his eyes again when he saw it. Her phone screen on the bedside table lit up with a notification. It vibrated softly. Adrian wasn't going to look. It wasn't his place. But the screen stayed on, and he saw it. Message from unknown number. "Do you think his family really accepts you? They know the truth, and soon everyone will know." Adrian froze. He picked up her phone, slowly, trying not to wake her. Unlocked it. She had shown him the password days ago, casually trusting. Opened the messages, and felt his blood run cold. There were more. A lot more. He scrolled up. "He still loves Charlotte. Everyone knows. You think he would choose you if he didn't need you to keep up appearances? He is lying, and you know that. You were only temporary." Message after message. Weeks of messages. Weeks. Adrian looked at Riley, sleeping peacefully, not knowing he was seeing everything. "She got all of this, and didn't tell me? Why? Because she didn't trust me? Or because she believed it?" He looked back at the phone. The last message, the one that had just arrived, glowed on the screen. And Adrian felt something he had not felt in years. Anger. Pure anger. Someone was threatening Riley. Someone was planting doubts in her mind. Someone was trying to destroy what they had. And he was going to find out who. Adrian grabbed his own phone, took a photo of her screen, evidence, and sent a message to the head of security at Reed Enterprises. I need to trace a number. Urgent. I'll send the details tomorrow morning. The reply came in 30 seconds. Understood, Mr. Reed. Adrian placed her phone back on the nightstand. Lay down again, pulled Riley closer. She nestled against him even more, and Adrian stayed there, awake, staring at the ceiling. Thinking, planning. Whoever you are, you made a mistake. You messed with the wrong person. Adrian did not sleep for the rest of the night. He stayed there, Riley's arms around him, planning every move. At 6 in the morning, while she was still asleep, he got out of bed carefully, put on his suit, and called the head of security. I want the tracing done by noon. Yes, sir. Adrian hung up, looked at the bedroom door where Riley was still sleeping, wrote a quick note, and left the penthouse. He had work to do. Riley woke up at 8, alone in the bed. Strange. Adrian always waited for her to wake up. She picked up her phone. His message, urgent meeting. I'll be back tonight. I left coffee ready. She went to the kitchen. Fresh coffee. A note. Thank you for last night, A. Riley smiled, putting the note in her robe pocket. At the Reed Enterprises office, Adrian was behind his executive desk. The head of security, Marcus, was standing in front of him. We traced the number, Mr. Reed. And? Prepaid phone, but we managed to track the location of the messages. Where? Whitmore Residence, Historic District, Charleston. Adrian felt his jaw tighten. Charlotte. Are you sure? Absolutely. All the messages came from that address, many at the same times Mrs. Whitmore posted on social media from her home. Adrian closed his eyes, controlling his anger. Charlotte did this. She attacked Riley. Anything else? Marcus placed an envelope on the desk. Prints of all the messages, dates, times, location, everything documented. Adrian took the envelope. Thank you, Marcus. Find out where Charlotte Whitmore is right now. 2 hours later, Adrian walked into an elegant cafe in the historic district. Charlotte was there, alone, table by the window. She looked up when he approached and smiled, that calculated smile. Adrian, what a pleasant surprise. We need to talk. He pulled the chair and sat without asking. Her smile faltered. About what? Adrian placed the envelope on the table. Charlotte looked at it, then at him. What is that? Open it. She hesitated but opened it, and Adrian watched the exact moment she realized she had been caught. Her face turned pale, her hands trembled slightly. This doesn't prove anything. Do not lie to me. Adrian's voice was low, controlled, but filled with anger. Location, times, everything matches your house. You sent all these messages. Charlotte closed the envelope quickly, looking around to see if anyone was listening. Adrian, I can explain. Explain what? He leaned forward. That you spent weeks sending messages to Riley, planting doubts, trying to destroy her? I wasn't trying to destroy anyone. Then what were you doing? Charlotte shrank back, for the first time looking small. I just wanted you to see that she's not right for you. Adrian, she is not from our world. She will never understand. Adrian stayed silent for 3 seconds. Then he stood up. You're right, she is not from our world. He adjusted his tie. Because she is better than that. She is honest, genuine. She does not manipulate. She does not attack people from behind. Charlotte stood up too, desperate. Adrian, please, You have 2 options. He cut her off. Option 1, you stop. Now, delete the number. Stay out of our lives, and I forget this. And option 2, I expose you. Publicly. Your family finds out everything, and you lose the reputation you care so much about. Charlotte turned white as paper. You wouldn't do that. Try me. He turned to leave. I loved you. Her voice broke. Truly. Adrian stopped, looked over his shoulder. I know, but love does not excuse cruelty, Charlotte, and you were cruel to the person I love. And he walked out, leaving her alone in the cafe. Meanwhile, in the penthouse, Riley was on the sofa with a cup of tea, trying to read, when her phone vibrated. Message. Unknown number. She sighed. She was already tired of it. Opened it. Your husband read your messages while you were asleep. How romantic. He doesn't trust you enough to talk. He just investigates behind your back. Riley froze, read it again. He read my messages? How does this person know that? How could anyone, unless? Riley looked at the phone in her hand. Opened the settings, access history, and she saw it. Last access, 3:17 a.m. Today, 3 in the morning. When she was asleep, when Adrian was awake. Riley felt her heart speed up. He accessed my phone. He read my messages without telling me, without asking me. She locked her phone. Why would he do that? Why didn't he talk to me? And then it hit her. The urgent meeting today. Him leaving so early. The vague message, he discovered something and didn't tell me. He's handling it alone, as if I couldn't handle it. As if I were too fragile. Riley felt something break inside her chest. It wasn't anger. It was pain. A deep pain of realizing that, even after everything, he didn't trust her enough to share it. 1 hour later, Riley was in the guest room, packing a suitcase. Tears slid quietly as she folded her clothes, only the ones she had brought from her old apartment, not the expensive ones he had bought. I don't belong here. I never did. He sees me as someone to protect, not as an equal. She closed the suitcase, went to the kitchen, grabbed paper and a pen. Wrote with a trembling hand, "Adrian, I'm not upset because you investigated. I'm hurt because you didn't talk to me first. You saw I was being attacked and decided to solve everything alone. You didn't trust me enough to share it. And I need someone who sees me as a partner, not as someone too fragile for the truth. I need time to think. Riley." She left the note on the kitchen island, the same place where he left sweet notes for her every morning. She looked around the penthouse one last time. The kitchen where she had cooked for him, the sofa where they had watched movies together, the bedroom where they had slept wrapped in each other's arms, and she felt her heart break. But she picked up the suitcase and left. Adrian arrived at the penthouse at 7 that night, smiling for the first time that day. He had solved everything. Confronted Charlotte, she would stop. Riley would be safe. "Riley?" he called as he came in. "I brought dinner. I thought we could eat and I could tell you everything." Silence. The penthouse was empty, quiet. He frowned, but the bags on the counter. "Riley?" He went to her room. Door open, bed made, closet open, clothes missing. No. Adrian's heart raced. He ran back to the kitchen and saw it. White paper on the island. Her handwriting. He picked it up with hands that started to shake, read it once, twice, 3 times, and felt the world fall apart around him. She left. She found out, and she left. Adrian leaned against the counter, the note crushed in his hand, his breath uneven. "I wanted to protect her, and I ended up losing her." He grabbed his phone, dialed. "The number you are trying to reach is..." He hung up. Tried again. Voicemail. Message. "Riley, please, let me explain. I know I was wrong. Please give me a chance to explain." He sent it. Waited. Nothing. Adrian looked around the penthouse. So big, so empty, so silent without her. Without her singing in the shower. Without the smell of food being cooked. Without her laugh echoing through the place. And he realized something devastating. He had spent his entire life controlling everything, fixing everything alone, protecting everyone around him. But he had never learned the most important thing. To trust, to share, to be vulnerable. And now he had lost the one person who made him want to be better. Adrian grabbed his car keys. He wasn't giving up. Not on her. Never on her. He knew where she was, and he would go there. Even if she didn't open the door. Even if he had to stand outside all night. Even if he had to beg. Because Adrian Reed finally understood. Loving someone wasn't protecting them from the truth. It was trusting them with the truth. And he had failed. But he would fix it. Even if it was the last thing he did. The rain started when Adrian was halfway there. Not a soft, romantic rain. A heavy southern storm, the kind that turned Charleston's streets into rivers. He didn't care. He drove to the old 3-story building where Riley lived, where everything had started months ago. Parked. Got out of the car. The rain soaked him in seconds. He climbed the rusty outdoor stairs, the same ones that had creaked under his feet the first time he came to pick up her things. He stopped at the door of apartment 2B. Took a deep breath. And knocked. "Riley? It's me?" Silence. He knew she was there. The light was on. He could feel it. "Riley, please. I just need to talk to you." Nothing. Adrian rested his forehead against the wet door. "I know you don't want to hear me, and I understand. I ruined everything." His voice came out rough. "But I need you to know the truth. The whole truth." On the other side of the door, Riley was sitting on the floor, leaning against the wood, hugging her knees, tears falling silently. She had heard the car arrive, the footsteps on the stairs, the knock. And part of her, a big part, wanted to open. But the other part was afraid. Afraid to believe again. Afraid to get hurt again. "I saw the messages," Adrian continued, his voice coming through the door. Early yesterday morning, you were asleep and the phone vibrated, and I saw it, and I read it. Everything." He paused. "And I know I should have woken you up, should have told you right away, but I wanted to protect you." Riley closed her eyes, more tears falling. "I tracked the number," he went on. "Found out it was Charlotte. I went to her today, confronted her. She confessed everything. Said she did it because she couldn't accept that I had moved on, that I had chosen you." Silence for 3 seconds. "I gave her an ultimatum. Either she stopped and disappeared, or I would expose everything publicly. She agreed. She's moving to Atlanta, far from us, far from Charleston." He let out a humorless laugh. "She even posted online that she's looking for a fresh start. Her family is relieved the scandal stayed contained." Riley heard everything, her heart tightening. He fixed it. "Alone." Again, as if he had read her thoughts, Adrian spoke. "And I know I did it again. I solved everything alone, without telling you, without including you." His voice broke. "And it was wrong. I was wrong, Riley." Riley placed her hand on the door on her side. "I lived my whole life this way." Adrian continued, "Controlling everything, solving everything alone, because that's how I was taught. My father always said read men don't show weakness, don't ask for help, don't trust anyone completely." A long pause. "And I lived like that for 32 years, alone, controlled, cold." He took a deep breath. "Until you." Riley felt her chest tighten. "You scared me, Riley. From the first day. You made me feel things I didn't know how to handle, and I didn't know how to be vulnerable, didn't know how to trust." He tapped the door lightly. "With Charlotte, I was never vulnerable, never shared anything, and that's why it never worked. But with you," his voice faltered, "with you, it's different. With you, I want to share everything. I want to be vulnerable. I didn't know how." Riley wiped her tears, her hand still on the door. "But I learned something today," Adrian said, his voice steadier now. "I learned that protecting someone isn't hiding the truth. It's trusting that person is strong enough to handle the truth. And you are, Riley. You are the strongest person I know." Silence. "I love you." The words came out broken, honest, desperate. "I love you so much it hurts. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not trusting you, for deciding alone, for hurting you." Riley heard his voice grow wet and realized it wasn't just the rain. He was crying. Adrian Reed was crying on the other side of the door. "I don't know how to fix this," he admitted. "I don't know if you can still forgive me. But I had to try, because I can't breathe right without you. Because that penthouse is just an empty apartment without you. Because I am empty without you." Riley rested her forehead on the door, closing her eyes. "So I'm here, soaked, begging." He let out a sad laugh. "And I'll stay here as long as you need. All night, if necessary, because you're worth every second." Long silence. Riley took a deep breath and opened the door. Adrian was soaked, suit clinging to him, hair dripping, eyes red. He looked at her, and he seemed so lost, so vulnerable, that Riley felt her heart break all over again. "You're soaked," she said, her voice rough from crying. "I've been here for 20 minutes. I know. I heard everything." Adrian took a step forward, hesitant. "Do I still have a chance?" Riley looked into his eyes, those gray eyes she had learned to read, to love. "That depends." "On what?" "Will you trust me from now on? Always. Even when it's hard? Especially when it's hard. Will you include me in your decisions? In all of them. Even the scary ones?" Adrian smiled, small, trembling, hopeful. "Especially the scary ones." Riley felt her last defenses fall. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you so much that I had to leave, because I didn't know how to stay without losing myself." Adrian held her face with both hands, wet, cold, but gentle. "You will never lose yourself, because I will remind you who you are. Every day, forever." And he kissed her. A desperate kiss, soaked with rain and tears, filled with everything that had been trapped for weeks. Riley pulled him inside the apartment, closing the door without breaking the kiss. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, drenched in love, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. "I love you. I love you too. So much." The rain kept falling outside, but inside they were finally together. For real. 6 months later, the smell of cinnamon and melted butter filled the small restaurant on Meeting Street. Riley wiped her hands on her apron, an apron very different from the one she wore at the Heritage Brew, and looked around with a smile she couldn't hold back. Avo's kitchen had opened 3 months ago, Small, only 12 tables, exposed brick walls. Simple but cozy decor, old photos of her grandmother hung with care, and it was packed. Every day, a line at the door, reservations weeks in advance, because the food was exceptional. Fried chicken that melted in your mouth, mac and cheese that made people cry with happiness, peach pie that had become a legend in Charleston. Riley had built that, with hard work, with passion, and with a business partner who believed in her from day one. Riley? Mia's voice, the sous chef she had hired, came from the kitchen. Table 6 is up. On it. Riley grabbed the plates, crossed the small dining room, delivered them with a genuine smile. When she returned to the counter, he was there. Adrian, leaning on the doorframe wearing a perfect suit because he never showed up without a suit, a small smile on his face. "Hi," she said, her heart still speeding up every time she saw him. "Hi." He walked across the restaurant and stopped in front of her. "Do you have a minute?" Riley frowned. "Right now, it's packed." "I know, but trust me." She looked into his eyes and saw something there. "Nervousness? Okay, 1 minute." Adrian took her hand. "Actually, it needs to be outside." "Adrian, please." Riley removed her apron, told Mia she'd be right back, and followed him outside. Adrian stopped in front of the car, but didn't open the door. Instead, he started walking. Riley followed, confused. "Where are we going?" "You'll see." 3 blocks later, Riley realized they were heading toward King Street, toward the Heritage Brew. "Adrian, why are we going to the cafe?" He didn't answer. He just held her hand tighter. When they reached the front of the cafe, Riley saw it. Barry was at the door, waiting, smiling, crying. "Barry?" Riley ran to him. "What are you doing here? Are you okay?" "I'm great," Barry sobbed, wiping his face. I'm so happy." Riley looked at Adrian, completely lost. "What is going on?" Adrian took a deep breath, held both of her hands, and knelt, right there, in front of the Heritage Brew, where everything had started. Riley stopped breathing. "Adrian." He took a small box from his pocket, navy velvet, opened it. A ring sparkled in the Charleston afternoon sun. Simple, elegant, perfect. "The first time," Adrian began, his voice steady but emotional, "I lied. I walked into this cafe and shouted that you were my wife. But it was a lie. It was an arrangement. It was convenient." Tears were already running down Riley's face. "But this time," he continued, his gray eyes locked on hers, "I'm asking for real. No arrangement, no pretending, no convenience." He smiled, that vulnerable smile she loved. "Riley Monroe, you changed my life. You taught me how to feel. You taught me how to trust. You taught me that loving someone means being vulnerable, and I want to spend the rest of my life learning with you." Barry sobbed loudly behind them. Adrian laughed softly but didn't look away from Riley. "Will you marry me? For real this time?" Riley covered her mouth with her hands, tears falling, laughing and crying all at once. "Yes, yes, of course yes." Adrian slipped the ring onto her finger, perfect fit, and stood up, pulled her into a kiss. And Barry yelled, "I've been here for all of this." People on the street stopped, applauded. Some recognized them. "It's the couple from the video," and took photos. But Riley and Adrian didn't care. They were lost in each other. Finally. Completely. Truly. 3 months later, the historic Charleston garden was decorated with white flowers and soft lights hanging from the old trees. Riley wore a simple but beautiful dress. Nothing extravagant, just her. Eleanor Reed stood beside her, not as a critic, but as a mother. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," Eleanor said, adjusting the veil. "I'm nervous," Riley admitted. "Good." Eleanor smiled. "It means it's real." The music started. Eleanor offered her arm. "Shall we?" Riley nodded, and the two of them walked together down the improvised aisle. Adrian stood at the altar, gray suit, shining eyes, trembling smile. When Riley got close, he wiped his eyes quickly. She laughed softly. "You're crying." "I'm happy," he whispered back. The officiant began, but Riley barely heard him. She could only see Adrian, until it was time for the vows. Adrian held her hands and took a deep breath. "Riley, I wrote and rewrote this about 10 times, but in the end, I only need to say one thing." He looked at the guests, family, friends, Barry sobbing in the front row. "Respect her. She is my wife." Laughter and applause. But then Adrian looked back at Riley, his eyes wet. "And this time, it's not a lie. It's the truest thing I've ever said. I love you, and I choose you, every day, forever." Riley wiped her own tears. "I also wrote and rewrote," she began, her voice shaky. "But all I can think is, thank you." Adrian frowned a little, surprised. Thank you for walking into that cafe, Riley continued, for making up that crazy lie, for teaching me that I'm stronger than I thought, for trusting me, for loving me. She smiled through her tears. And I choose you, always. Even when you insist on wearing a suit at breakfast. Laughter. Adrian smiled, that full, genuine, happy smile. You may kiss, the officiant said. And they kissed. Under applause, under tears, under Charleston's blue sky. Finally, truly, forever. 6 months after the wedding, Riley was in the penthouse kitchen, the one she had destroyed months earlier with flour on the ceiling. Now, it was hers too, officially. She stirred sauce in the pan, humming out of tune when she felt arms wrap around her waist. Hi, Adrian murmured against her neck. You got home early. I always get home early now. He kissed her cheek. I don't want to miss a minute. Riley smiled, turning in his arms. I love you. I love you too. On the fridge, a picture of them on their wedding day. Under it, written by Riley, it started with a lie, became the truth, and now it's forever. And it was, forever. What did you think of Riley and Adrian's journey, from the lie at the cafe to the real wedding? What moment stood out the most to you? Leave your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to receive more emotional stories like this one. See you in the next one.